If you call a spade, you'll get labeled all types of names. Imagine Scott Agnes criticizing South Carolina and Asia Wilson fans for going after Caitlin Clark during her rookie season. Imagine the backlash.
Imagine getting so upset by excited sports fans that you end up writing a full-blown rant, like you're trying out for the role of Darth Vader's spokesperson. Well, that's exactly what happened with one Indiana Fever reporter, who took aim at Caitlin Clark's fans, comparing them to villains. Yes, actual bad guys, just swap the lightsabers for foam fingers. In today's episode of What's Going On with Journalism, we're breaking down the viral article that's making people ask, has the WNBA suddenly turned into a superhero movie? Grab a seat, this story is heating up faster than one of Caitlin Clark's three-pointers.
In an article, he put something in there, and I don't know if he thought it was going to be a side note to his article, but you cannot call Caitlin Clark fans the dark side of the fandom. No, that wasn't the greatest or smartest idea in the world.
Think about this, Caitlin Clark, the athlete who brought women's college basketball into the national spotlight, is now the target of a viral article, written by a sports reporter who seems more rattled than a flat basketball. But here's the twist, it's not really about Caitlin herself. Instead, the writer goes after her fans. Yes, the people who simply support her success. Apparently, cheering too loudly is now a problem. It's less of a thoughtful piece and more of an online meltdown, and it has a lot of folks asking, when did being a fan become a crime?
This is really disappointing from a journalist so closely linked to the Indiana Fever organization. This is really, really disappointing, and it's really concerning in my opinion, because it is painting a 23-year-old on their team who is currently injured.
So, it seems this reporter, let's just call him the king of bad opinions, has made a bold claim. If you're a fan of Caitlin Clark, you're basically on the dark side. That's right, cheering for her, wearing a Fever jersey with number 22, or getting excited over a three-pointer now somehow makes you a villain. According to him, it's practically a Star Wars situation. All that's missing is the dramatic music every time someone buys her merchandise.
Imagine Scott Agnes writing an article about the Reese's Pieces and all their negative vitriol, shout out to L. Duncan, that's been targeted to Caitlin Clark. Imagine the backlash he would receive. But what's the safe way out? What's the safest way to big up the Indiana Fever? Well, you tear down Caitlin Clark's fans.
Meanwhile, Indiana Fever management seems completely lost. They're acting like they're in a Scooby-Doo episode, still trying to figure out why Caitlin Clark's fans are upset, when the answer couldn't be more obvious. You've got the most exciting rookie the WNBA has ever seen, playing in a league where the officiating is so questionable, it makes pro wrestling look fair and balanced.
Listen, man, this is very sad, very disappointing. It's disgusting that Caitlin Clark has to be subjected to this nonsense, and enough's enough. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. She needs to come out and draw the line in the sand. And it would not shock me if at some point, man, Caitlin Clark is just done with this.
Let's start with the league, shall we? The WNBA, in all its infinite wisdom, took Caitlin Clark, the same player who used to rack up 40-point triple-doubles like it was just another day in Iowa, and dropped her into a system where the referees seem more focused on being petty than fair. It's like they went to a workshop called How to Make Bad Calls in 3 Easy Steps. Every game feels less like basketball and more like a drama, written by someone who gets all their ideas from social media arguments.
But yesterday they also announced the skills competition for the WNBA All-Star team. And she didn't make that either. So you argued she wasn't good for the Olympics. Your argument, though I don't buy it, but it was your argument, women's basketball, that she would be a distraction. So isn't the perfect place to put her in the skills competition?
The NCAA treated Caitlin Clark like the star she is. The WNBA? More like they enrolled her in Mean Girls High. If the NCAA was like a supportive counselor rooting for her every step of the way, the WNBA is acting like Regina George asking, why are you so good at this, anyway? We went from primetime, game of the week coverage, to we'll air it if there's nothing else on. Because apparently, giving your most popular player the spotlight is just bad business. Now, let's talk about that reporter, a man so allergic to accountability, he might need an EpiPen every time someone says the word objectivity. He's not just covering the news anymore, he's here to teach us a lesson. According to him, if you support Caitlin Clark, you're part of the problem. Not because you're rude or disruptive, but simply because you exist. It's the kind of journalism that makes you wonder if his degree came from the back of a cereal box. And when he was called out for ignoring clear fouls against Clark, he dodged responsibility faster than a yoga instructor trying to hold a pose during a blackout. But hey, who needs facts when you're writing from a bunker full of bitterness?
Winners of 7 of 9. The Fever are playing connected.
He says he's faced a lot of hate. Really? Because from where most people are sitting, it's Caitlin Clark who's been taking the real hits, on and off the court. She's been elbowed in the face, fouled like it's a contact sport with no rules, and treated like a punching bag, yet she still shows up to press conferences with nothing but professionalism and a polite smile. Meanwhile, this reporter seems to have a full-blown meltdown every time someone in the comments asks him to consider basic facts. What's really striking? He's never, not once, called out the obvious cheap shots aimed at Clark. Not when she was shoved. Not when she was fouled like someone was trying to take her out of the game. Not when she got bodychecked during a layup. Crickets. But now? Suddenly, he finds the time and energy to write a 1,200-word piece about how her fans are the real problem. So, let's talk about those fans. The way he goes on, you'd think cheering for Clark was a federal offense. He's spinning so hard, it's like an Orbit gum commercial. Honestly, with the kind of mental gymnastics he's doing, we're shocked Auntie Anne's hasn't filed a trademark for the pretzels. And anytime someone brings up actual basketball, he swerves. Don't talk about the missed fouls or the blatant physical play, let's focus on how you're a bad fan for even noticing.
Nasty, nasty. If y'all don't know who Scott Agnes is, he's a guy that's he's very close to the team. He gets a lot of access. He's in the practices. He's interviewing the players at practice. He's interviewing the players pre-game, post-game. He is very close with the team and has a lot of access to the players and the team.
What's even more frustrating is how this has turned into a cottage industry of jealousy. The WNBA has spent decades, fighting for mainstream attention. Now they finally have a player who brings in TV viewers, sells out arenas, crashes jersey websites, and draws in major sponsors. And somehow, her biggest offense? Being too successful. At this point, it feels less like professional sports and more like that one coworker who slacks off for years, then throws a fit when someone else gets promoted. Except here, instead of office gossip, we've got hard fouls, ejections, and a very bitter man with a WordPress account. And then there's the go-to line, she's not the only rookie. Wow, what a revelation. Yes, there are other rookies in the league. Yes, some of them are incredible. But apparently, if you buy a Caitlin Clark jersey or say she's having a great season, you're one tweet away from being accused of starting a cult. And here's the biggest irony, the very reporters and pundits constantly attacking Clark's fans are only in the spotlight because of her. If Caitlin Clark weren't in the league right now, half of them would be tweeting about pickleball scores and writing Yelp reviews for Waffle House.
The ignorance is loud here, folks. They're only there for Clark. Boy, you stepped in it. But that dark side can easily seep into the team. The Caitlin Clark fans, the dark side. Because they're very passionate about a player, and yes, they put their money where their mouth is. So these people, these fans, feel invested.
This guy has built his entire platform around not supporting Caitlin Clark. At this point, he's basically the president of the anti-fan fan club. His whole brand revolves around calling her overrated, then gaslighting anyone who points out the obvious, that she's not just good, she's changing the game. Let's be real, if Caitlin Clark were playing in a league that prioritized professionalism over politics, she'd be in MVP conversations right now. Instead, she's getting hacked, shoved, and double-teamed like she's in an action movie, while the refs just sip tea and look the other way. And here's the part that really stings, every time she shows humility, composure, and class, traits we say we admire, those, too, get twisted. Why doesn't she fight back? Why is she so quiet? Maybe because she knows the spotlight is already squarely on her, and any wrong move will be used against her. She doesn't need to give fuel to critics who haven't watched a full, unbiased game since flip phones were still a thing. Let's not forget, this is a woman who's brought millions in value to a league that, not long ago, struggled to fill seats or move merchandise. She sparked national interest in women's basketball like we've never seen before. And the response from some corners of the media, your fans are too loud. Please stop liking her so much. It'd be funny if it weren't so completely ridiculous.
Indiana Fever reporter Scott Agnes has decided that now would be the time, now that the Fever have won a few games, now would be the time to attack Caitlin Clark fans. While, of course, and I'm not even going to go through because some of them are really nasty,